First, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to spend with us this morning. Um, we are here to talk about Security Copilot and why it matters, specifically in the not-for-profit sector. And then the challenges of driving and preventing adoption over time, as well as the capability of Security Copilot. We'll have a walkthrough of a couple scenarios within a demo of Security Copilot to give you that experience. And then we will jump into what some of the outcomes of an engagement with Reply would look like. And of course, give you some time for Q&A. Before we jump into that, though, I did want to make a few reminders. You are set to silence, but you can enter your questions in the Q&A, and that will be monitored by a team. We do love reactions. Thank you so much, Naeem. That is a great way to get our attention or keep some interaction going with your team here and with the participants. And of course, just a reminder, this is being recorded and the recordings and the deck can be sent out within the next week after we complete today. So with that, first, I'm Melissa Salzinger, the account executive here with the security team at Valorem Reply, and working closely with our team. I will go ahead and pass it over to you, Steve.
My name is Steve Lazar. I'm Security Manager, Security Architect here at Valorem Reply, handling a lot of our Microsoft security products, and I will hand it over to Shahed.
Hello, everybody. I'm Shahed, a security consultant here at Valorem. I work closely with Steve, mainly on the AI and the threat side. Back to you, Melissa.
And then we will begin with the what is Security Copilot and why is it important? And with that, Steve will take it from here.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Thank you for that introduction. The first question around this is, what is Security Copilot, and really why does it matter to folks in the non-for-profit segment? And Security Copilot is a security assistance tool leveraging Microsoft's Copilot technologies to give you a AI advantage in the security environment. It's built within Copilot, so it's restricted to your tenancies, and it is an integrated threat protection development. It helps by identifying and correlating all of the telemetry that's coming in, because we get thousands to millions of signals that are coming into our security teams daily. And as different threats are engaging in different areas, it's too much for a human to keep up. So what Security Copilot will do is it will actually be tracking that at the speed of AI, correlating it, and then providing alerts and responses to your security teams at a faster pace and in a single response narrative. That will also then help improve the operational efficiency of individuals, and it helps reduce burnout because you're not spending a lot of time on your analyst workload and trying to figure out what all this information coming in as. You're kind of getting a summary list of it instead. And then it also is key then to improving your productivity given all of the threats that are coming both internal and external to security today. One of the key differences and aspects of that, because that could be any AI tool that's doing that, but one of the key aspects is the way that Copilot has been designed by Microsoft is to allow the human in the loop model, which is essentially keeping people in charge. So while you have these AI responses and AI assistance, it is ultimately up to a human to make the decisions and setting up that what it is doing, what those automated pieces are. And then again, Copilot will give a recommendation, and then the human makes the decision based on those recommendations and knowing what else is going on in the environment. That's kind of a key critical aspect when we start talking about AI today. Previously, Security for Copilot had some major challenges that were preventing its adoption across the environment. So while it's been around for several years, in the past, the cost of utilizing it was very tricky. You didn't know how much things were going to cost. You didn't know what was going to happen, and you couldn't identify, the sudden surge in pricing that may or may not have occurred as you were using it. So the cost of utilization, Microsoft has fixed this issue by actually tying it to your licenses. So you're going to get AI SCUs, or security compute units, that are assigned at 400 per month available to you based on every 1,000 E5 licenses. Now, it caps out at 10,000 per month, so about 25,000 E5 licenses. However, it's not a one-to-one scale. So if I've got 1,500 licenses, I will get 600 SCU units, and it's not going to be like 400 at 1,000 and 400 at 2,000. So by doing that and focusing on the fact that the way you leverage and build out Security Copilot accessibility really has allowed customers to streamline their pricing and costs so that they are not going to be surprised by anything later on down the road. The second big hurdle was its integration. When it was first came out, it was a separate product that was singularly focused. So for example, it would Security Copilot, you could do a request to it and it would help, but it would help in Purview, or it would help in Entra. Today's version of Security Copilot is much more enhanced. It's no longer a single separate tool set. It is also integrated into each of the different security products, such as Entra, Sentinel, Defender, Purview, etc. Additionally, it does also still exist as a standalone console that allows you to leverage it as an analysis tool, giving you the ability to do consolidated investigations and improvements during a more strategic time frame, but it is also assisting as a built-in tool to help you define what it is and do that proactive responses and proactive planning. A key aspect on there that is also no longer limiting is that Copilot is not single-threaded. So if I've got an attack going on and it's a large campaign that has already reached, say, the endpoint and is attacking Entra, and they're going after some data, the product will actually see the campaign as a whole across every stack area instead of just isolating each individual one. So between an improvement in cost of utilization and an improvement in functionality, the reasons or challenges of why the adoption in the past have really gone to the wayside. The third area is licensing. We all know Microsoft licensing is occasionally a challenge, but Microsoft has bundled the Security Copilot into both the E5 and the new E7 licensing as part of their include services. And those cost of utilization, those additional 1,000 licenses to 400 SCUs is included in E7 as well as E5. What this means is that you don't have to have an add-on of additional licenses and trying to figure out how many people, how many licenses, or how much SCUs do I need to get access to things. It's simply going to be there, scaled out for a baseline amount, and then a pay-as-you-go once you get above your total that you get per license piece. So by conquering those challenges, Microsoft has made this a much more usable as well as available and fiscally available product for customers to use, which I know is very important in the non-for-profit spaces. Now, we can afford it, but how are we going to use it, and why are we going to use it, or why should we use it? And today, the attacks in environments are much more complex. All of us are under an intense pressure from outside forces trying to breach our environments. They're coming in from multiple domains or multiple vectors at the same time. They're leveraging AI themselves to make much more complex attacks and being able to do quick exploits. So once an exploit is done, their ability to exploit it is exponentially faster because they have an AI tool behind it. Additionally, at the same time, we have challenges from internal usage, which they used to call it shadow IT, now it's shadow AI. And we need to ensure that we're not inviting these adversarial owners or exposing anything from within our companies to the outside world that shouldn't be exposed. So the operational challenge is we have to maintain that external facing protection, internal facing controls, and we have to do it at the same time. Classic tools, siloed tools, the amount of alerts coming in, that just really leads to a longer time in triaging, a longer time in before we can do a response, delayed containment, and it just increases organizational risk overall. The usage of Security Copilot allows us to really address both of those challenges simultaneously by enhancing our productivity and giving us summaries of what's going on, both from what's going on internally and what's being attacked from externally at that high level of quick response that we need to do. Additionally is that, when we talk about that internal piece, it's not just the AI, the tools of what people are doing, but it's also that AI adoption. So we're going into the next realm of AI usage. It's no longer just assistance. It's now going into the space of this new agentic AI. That means that we've got agents which are doing things in the environment, and we have to monitor those. We have to know what they're doing, and we have to be able to restrict them. So rapid AI adoption, being able to do controls, being able to monitor it. Security Copilot integrates with the Microsoft Security Suite to give us better understanding, tracking of what's going on in there to alert. So it really gives us that practical operation model, faster, easier, and with a single pane of glass to show us what's going on and how these things are enacting as to who is doing what internally with regards to an AI product. So we know who's using it, what that AI product is doing, and should it be doing that. It's giving us that ability to see what's coming in from the outside, and it's giving us that ability to reduce our alert overload into quick summaries, and then as well assist with investigations at a faster speed. By using Security Copilot, we can do that, and by really a proper implementation of the tools, integrating them into that solution gives us those controls, and more importantly, still gives us the human control on it so that it's an enhancement and not a secondary danger to what we're doing. This really also allows us to embed that governance or those controls directly into all of our workflows today, and it's increasing our speed and building it at the time of creation of products. When customer, when people are doing these new AI developments, by using Copilot for AI and the fact that it's built into the underlying infrastructure, underlying operations of our infrastructure, it gives us that confidence that we know what's going on from time of somebody creating an AI product or using an AI product at their desktop. And we're not kind of guessing or figuring it out after the fact. Getting into the engagement capabilities of what you can do with Copilot is we're really looking at starting at the core capacity, which is the threat exploration. Now, this is a foundational capability, and it's a core focus of that engagement process. It really starts by mapping the highest impact scenario impacts, like phishing attacks, where your identity is compromised, potential endpoint outbreaks, and your data exposure. And it's doing that proactively by looking to see what you have built, what you have designed, and enhancing that, and again, in a proactive environment. By pulling in that telemetry that you get from E5, products such as Defender and Purview and Entra, when people are logging in, the Security Copilot analysis will really help to tell you what is potential, and then it will help doing any investigations of going on. By having these products across multiple environments and having it running consistently, then the AI is able to tell us what standard operating procedure or what day-to-day work looks like, and then it can tell us the abnormal changes. So if somebody normally is working one way, and then there's an aberrant behavior on that person or within that tool, Security Copilot will catch that as an aberration, and will alert you to it, even if it was something that you probably wouldn't notice because it's, just one person, or if there be a bunch of little things going on at the same time. That being able to track those highly suspicious patterns, summarizing it into plain language and suggesting to say, hey, might be what's going on, then in turn helps us with guided investigations and insights. Those summaries then help us do the analysis, and Security for Copilot will say, based on past behavior, past information within your tenant, and knowledge of what is potentially out there, can tell you, hey, this looks like this kind of an attack. These are the recommended solutions, the recommended intercepts to do. Tell me what you want us to do, and then it can go out and do that. So we're not having to track something down device by device. This could be an implementation of a solution across all devices at the same time. By doing this, we get faster responses, faster research, and more importantly, faster results to prevent attacks at our environment. And it's a continual learning. So the AI then learns from our responses. So if we have one thing that happens, and then 6 months, a year, 2 years later, somebody tries the same attack again or tries the same threat exploitation, the AI knows about it already and can alert you to it even before that happens. Or, because we've all seen this happen also, a patch comes out, or there's a change in a process or a change in a function that reopens that security risk. The Security Copilot will alert you to say, hey, this change happened. You are now vulnerable to this again. You need to be aware, and you really need to make that, notice up the chain to say, hey, we need to repatch, or we need to re-engage this solution to prevent past mistakes. And it gives us that on a repeatable process so that we're not having to go through and continually check for that. It's being done on the infrastructure behind the scenes for us. Overall, implementation of it will give us improvements across the board of what's going on in our environment into a single pane of glass for that alerting, assistance in our investigations, and then keep past behaviors notified so that we can control it and alert when we make a change that may inadvertently cause an unexpected results. And as I mentioned before, the key to all of this, which is within the Copilot realm, is that it's a human in the loop design. So it supports the agentic workflows, but it has defined human oversight. So during the agent pilot phase, when you start setting up these security agents and you start setting up the Security Copilot integration, with your appropriate identity permissions and review points. You're doing that, and it's calling out to how where the human needs to do it. So it's giving you recommendations and suggestions. It's not simply going to do it for you without you telling it to do it. And even if you do tell it to do it, it will still let you know and ask sometimes for approval or afterwards to say, we did this, here's the rollback, because sometimes we do make security decisions that have to be rolled back afterwards once the threat has been mitigated. Examples for that is automated quarantining. Very important, very something to do when it's an endpoint or a system that's been exploited or corrupted. And then you want to be able to go in and once it's been fixed, remove it from that quarantine. But you want it to ask and say, hey, everything's been fixed. Do you want to do this instead of just doing it? Now, this approach supports responsible AI implementation. It also really builds that trust between security teams and our stakeholders, because we're not, shooting from the hip. They understand what's going on and we can explain it to them easily. And by controlling it, we can safely evaluate things that are going on. We can do safe piloting and governance in that we can evaluate and test beforehand and then establish the success criteria and validate it prior to things being rolled out. And that in turn results to a scalable model instead of a haphazard model. Well, a scalable model is going to give us a better repeating operation. It's going to give us a standardization, and then it also lets us manage and control the rollouts of security AI, but also as the technology changes, we're able to keep up with it and know what's going on so that the results and responses to somebody having an outlier, we can then call it out and say, hey, this is what happened. This is why it happened. And then you can have a mitigation or a fix or an acceptance of it much easier for our business side partners to understand. But it's all key on the fact that it is a human in the loop design, keeping that personability and a human can control instead of something just happening and nobody understanding or knowing why. So to kind of showcase some of this is we're going to do a demonstration of Security Copilot. We're going to do a threat hunting agent, and we're going to do a conditional access optimization agent. And to help do that, I'm going to be handing this over now to Shahed, who will be leading us through what these different agents do and how they work.
Thank you, Steve. So let me just pull up my screen. All right. So now we are going to take a look at the threat hunting agent live in action. So I have an incident here that I've been investigating, and I wanted to look at it from an analyst perspective, sort of investigate or drill down onto where this incident happened, how it happened, why it happened. And I'm kind of overwhelmed with all this tabs here and the information that I'm seeing here. So I'm going to take help of the threat hunting agent, and it's going to summarize this whole incident for me, right from what happened, why it happened, and it just gives me the whole flow in plain English, so I can just read through it and understand the origination of this attack, how it happened, and how do I contain it. The Copilot is smart enough to even give me prompts on how to investigate further or to drill down the specifics, like what IP addresses I can look at, what devices I can look at, etc. Say I want to drill down even more further from this prompts and go dig deeper into this threat with an active alert, I can open up this incident into my Copilot and then have a natural language conversation with it and sort of just make more sense of it. So once I have an idea of what the incident is, I can then move on to the next step, that is the triaging of this incident. And Copilot is smart now to identify or sort of isolate which devices have been affected and bring them out to me and tell them that, hey, these are the devices that have been affected and you need to take action on these devices. And I get a forensic level report on those devices, again, on the sort of origination, why it happened, and how it happened. And then once I know what devices are impacted, I can then move on to the next step, that is containment. And using Security Copilot or the threat hunting agent, I can then go ahead and take our corrective actions, such as resetting the password of the machines, so the users cannot, so the users are safe from those sort of attacks. And then once I have taken the corrective actions, in the meantime, I can go ahead and I can mark as remediated and export this whole report. It sort of cuts down the time for analysts to go in and make reports on incidents. So now you can go ahead and just simply create PDFs that can be presented to your leadership team. Another agent that I'd like to go over on this call is the conditional access optimization agent. Over here, I've asked the agent to sort of identify any drifts in my conditional access policies, and it was able to identify some of the drifts and gave me recommendations on how do I go on about it. And I don't need some of the capabilities of Security Copilot is not only just having natural language conversations, but now you can also ask it to do stuff for you. So my agent here for the conditional access optimization runs in background and checks my conditional access policies if there's any drifts or not. And then it also suggests actions to me, how I can remediate those drifts. So let's take a look at these two suggested steps. My agent has been running in the background, and it has identified that my conditional access policies do not have a break class account. So I can go ahead and look at the suggestion, and I can simply add accounts over here. So that is sort of the action items that I can do instead of me having to go through my users and the conditional access policies and dive deeper into this conditional access policies. The agent is directly telling me what to do and how to do it, and sort of cuts down the steps. So that is your Security Copilot in action. The possibilities are limitless. Happy to go over more. Back to you, Melissa.
I will just put this back here. Apologies, that's taking just a minute to load up there. I think from here, Shahed, you were going to cover the engagement objectives and measurable outcomes.
So this engagement, the Security Copilot, the hands-on engagement, we work with your team to sort of identify the use cases or the business cases where Security Copilot sort of makes the most sense. And then using those business cases, we sort of map out the ROIs and the KPIs to make the most business sense or the most aligned use cases for your teams. And once we have those metrics in place and the business use case mappings, we can sort of do a roadmap for your team on how to adopt Security Copilot in a scalable manner.
Thank you, Shahed. Thank you, Steve. And just to, there's more information about this that will be sent over to you, but why work with a team like Reply? And as you've seen, we invest in the time and the knowledge with our subject matter experts, such as Shahed and Steve. We are a trusted Microsoft Security Elite partner. And what that means is we have invested in multiple areas of technology, but also the people and the process, and matching that to the technology and how you can, as Shahed pointed out, scale that across your teams, especially in the not-for-profit arena where you only have limited amounts of teams available to you and resources, right? Further from that, we don't just come in and implement a tool and then walk away. We make sure that you are in the position to fish, right? Train you to fish, not give you the fish, and basically move you through that process, build that roadmap, help you add this to your environment, existing tools, along with helping you gap the risk, right? Solve the risk for those gap areas. So we are here to help you from end to end and not just come in for one session. So with that said, we did cover a bit today from what is Security Copilot, why it matters and why it should matter to you, challenges that have prevented the adoption and are driving adoption from the security perspective, as well as the capabilities of Security Copilot. Shahed walked through two specific examples and then talked a little bit about the engagement that we would work with you to build to help you scale your department. With that said, we are going to open this up for questions and answers. But before we do that, to help you take this one step further, we do have a complimentary 90-minute session to where we can talk more specifically with you about your specific organizational needs. What is your environment entail today? How does that make sense to build in Security Copilot? What access to tools do you have beyond best of breed along with Microsoft tools that's going to help you implement an overall environment? And so happy to work with you to schedule that anytime with our SMEs. You may even get Shahed. So that would be fun to see. And I would be your main point of contact. I will be reaching out after this webinar to make sure you have all the appropriate information to be able to schedule that, as well as any follow-ups to this actual webinar.